Welcome to Walk with Jesus Bible Study. We're going to be in the book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 12, verses 18 through 20. But now hath God set the members, every one of them, in the body, as it hath pleased him. And if they were all one member, where were the body? But now are they many members, yet but one body. God has made everything very detailed and specific. He has a reasoning for any and all things. We may not see it. We don't understand it. We can't see the bigger picture, but God can and does. We shouldn't covet what somebody has or doesn't. We shouldn't put ourselves down because of what we think we are lacking, because of what somebody else has got. God has specifically determined which spiritual gifts to give which believers in his church. He has specifically picked out what he wants for each different member to go and to do for here and there. And each one is different. We are not all the same, and for good reason. So we should not be jealous because this person can do that over here and this person can do that over there. Because we all belong to the same body. We are all supposed to be working together. Many people lives are very unfortunate that they have lost certain parts of their bodies or is deformed or defigured and doesn't quite all work the same. They have to figure out a new way of maneuvering and doing this and doing that to get their body to function properly like the rest of the people. So when we start judging, when we start looking at other people and their gifts and their abilities, and start coveting and being jealous and no longer doing what God had given us to do and try to take over, we're leaving that one part that he had given us no longer working and is going towards the other thing what somebody else's job is doing. We're making it dysfunctional. There's a reason why each person has what God has gifted them to do. It is for him and him alone to decide how and where to distribute this and that to each one of the people. Because this is his body. Body of Christ. Not body of ourselves. Not body of this. Not body of that. The body of Christ. This is his church. Not ours. He decides. We are to be supportive. To help. And to encourage. And what's a shame is that many people use and preach when it's talking about the body of Christ, about how we wouldn't be able to function without this part, without this part or whatever. It's a shame that the same people who preach that, when it comes to certain people in their congregation or in or about their lives, they're a little bit judgmental because these certain people have disabilities, deformalities. Not quite the perfect body. And so we use judgment and say, oh no, you can't do this and you can't do that. Well, because you're kind of handicapped, or I just don't think that you're going to have the ability to do this. And whoa, God gave them something just as special as He gave you. They're able to do what God has asked them to do with their disabilities. It's not for us to sit there and say, no, you can't. Or I just don't want this, this to be this way because, I don't want people to see and look upon that. And that be a representative of us. For shame on those type of people. On those type of leaders. That we use that expression when preaching about the body of Christ and how we're all different members, but then turn around and treat certain members and bodies of Christ as if they're not a part of the body of Christ, and that they can't do the things that God has called and asked all of us to do because they are different than us. Everybody matters. Every part of the body matters. Even those who are missing or without, they still somebody to God. They're still a part of His body of Christ. And we shouldn't discourage how certain people go about because they're a little bit different. Because it's not the way you would do things. It's not the way that you would approach things. You got some people out there that go and evangelists and they go about it going this way and do it that way. You got some people who preach differently than other people. And yet you got other leaders saying, hey, you're not a man of God. The way you preach and the way you talk to people, that's not religious. That's not Christ-like. No. You're not being Christ-like. You're being judgmental. God has called him with his ability to do exactly what he's doing in the way that he's doing it, so he can reach certain people that you, with the way that you approach and do things, will not be able to reach. We're called to be fishermen. Fishermen have different lures to catch different types of fish in different areas. Who are you to play God and judge and say that somebody can't do something because they're not doing it the way you believe that they need to do it? The way that you think it ought to be done. See, God didn't call you to go over there for that reason, because you can't be that way. But that person can. There's too many people out there in leadership roles passing too much judgment on certain types of people, forgetting that we are all members and all part of the body of Christ. And nobody put them in charge. God is the only one. God is the head, not you. God distributes it. God says who can do this. God gave out the gifts to people, not you. Beware. Be careful of who and what you're passing judgment on. Just because it's not how you like it or how you think things should be doesn't mean that it's not Christian. Doesn't mean that it's Christ-like. Does not mean that it's not from God. Because we are all God's creation.